What do you think happens if you mess with the president of an outlaw motorcycle club? And by mess with, I mean knowingly break into his house, tie up his girlfriend, threaten her, and steal his guns and money. That kind of mess with. The answer in this case is a frantic manhunt by bikers for the dumb robber, a kidnapping, nasty murder, sweeping police probe, federal indictments, SWAT team raids, and an electrifying trial with a shock ending. Outlaw biker culture has been on display and on trial on America's West Coast, offering a roaring tale of greed, loyalty, betrayal, and revenge, 4 touchstone incentives in the underworld. The Mob Reporter here with exclusive videos and photos that reveal a true American crime story, a life and death tale with an inside look at a biker club, its members, rules, and culture, and how they hold up under pressure. Let me tell you about it. The tale will come to an end in April in a courtroom in Portland, Oregon. It began on July 1st, 2015, 20 miles north across the state line, when loggers made a gruesome discovery in a field in Clark County, Washington. There they found a battered body, later identified as Robert Lee Huggins, a biker known as Bagger Bob. Bagger, investigators learned, was grabbed from a driveway in Portland the night before and whisked away, kicking and screaming. He might not have been too surprised. You see, Bagger Bob was a biker without a gang. Once, he was a member of the Gypsy Joker Motorcycle Club's Portland chapter, but Bagger was kicked out in 2014 after he was caught stealing from his brother bikers to feed his heroin habit. Such excommunication is called being beaten out because, well, you're beaten while you're being kicked out. Bagger didn't take it well, and a few months later pretty much lost his mind. How else can you explain this? As payback, Bagger broke into the house of Gypsy Joker's Portland president Mark Denklau, tied up his girlfriend, threatened her, and stole his money and guns. When Denklau got home, he was furious, as one would be, but his thirst for revenge knew no bounds. Gypsy Jokers and their pals went on a tear looking for Bagger Bob. They eventually found him. They learned he was crashing at a home in Portland, and on June 30th, a little after 10 p.m., bikers in 3 vehicles started circling the neighborhood keeping watch. We see them on his neighbor's security system, although their cameras are cheap and the view poor. At 10:54 p.m., Bagger was spotted, and the bikers pounced. There was a struggle, just visible in the top left, and they appear to pull something into the SUV before peeling off. Within 2 minutes, the 3 cars leave in a convoy. 7 minutes later, the cops arrive. By then, the bikers and Bagger were gone. Bagger Bob was driven across the state line to a shed on rural property in southwest Washington, where he was given the full revenge treatment over several hours. Now, I won't describe details of what happened in that shed. Suffice to say, it was bad. After he was found, it took a while for police to piece together what happened. They got a lucky boost when one of those involved found himself in jail for meth possession and said too much on the phone to his girlfriend. In April 2016, Portland police arrested 4 bikers for murder and kidnapping. Among those arrested were Mark Denklau, the president of the local Gypsy Joker chapter since 2003, Earl Fisher, the chapter's vice president, and Tyler Prubernau, a member of a support club for the Gypsy Jokers, who was a U.S. Army veteran of the Iraq War. Officers then conducted post-arrest interrogations. Although they talked for more than an hour, Denklau was blunt to the cops about his world and his code.
But I'm not willing to sit here and tell you stories like some piece of shit rat. Okay? You got your world, I got mine. In my world, rats are pieces of shit. I'm not going to sit here telling on Nicole. I'm not going to sit here telling on anybody. I'm not going to sit here telling on anybody for anything.
Denklau, though, couldn't resist confirming Bagger Bob was a bad dude who deserved to be kicked out.
It was the heroin and the lying and stealing and everything else, you know what I mean? I don't think that it's that big a deal to tell you guys that he stole from the club. And then when he got caught for it, he blamed it all on heroin, which was an automatic kick out for him.
That didn't help him. I'll upload a full version of this interrogation soon. It's quite a ride and well worth a watch. The indictments for Bagger Bob's murder sparked police raids. SWAT teams entered the Gypsy Jokers clubhouses in Portland and Seattle. You see photos here from the raid and what police found, and perhaps I'll also upload a video soon showing you the full Monty from both clubhouses, a forensic examination of the bikers' knickknacks, security, weapons, finances, and how they like to have fun. Now, months later, the government made a federal case of this. I mean that literally, and that boosts prosecution firepower considerably. Additional suspects associated with the club were added in a superseding indictment, including Chad Erickson, a Gypsy Joker member who had been a sergeant in the U.S. Army. Most notably, though, in the new indictment, the feds charged the national president of the Gypsy Joker MC, Kenneth Hawes, known as the Wiz. That's not a personal nickname. It's the codename given to whoever holds the top national office. Hawes, the Wiz, had been national president of Gypsy Joker MC for decades, after serving in the U.S. Navy. He was hit with a federal racketeering conspiracy charge, but not for murder. Unlike the others, that made it easier to release him on bail pending trial. Suddenly, Danklau wasn't the biggest name on the indictment. These bikers weren't spring chickens. The Wiz was 62 when arrested, Danklau was 58. Others were in their 60s, 50s, 40s, and 30s. Bagger Bob was 56 when he was killed. Federal racketeering charges are notoriously hard to beat. An accused rarely wins. So much so, this was the first federal racketeering case to go to an actual trial in the state in more than 15 years. Favorable rules for the prosecution push most accused to cut a deal and plead guilty, and one by one, many of these bikers did, including Fisher and Pribernow, who both agreed to cooperate and testify. In fact, 6 bikers were lined up as government witnesses. Not Danklau, though, or Erickson, or the Wiz. They hung in for a trial that stretched right through to the end of 2021, with legal proceedings still underway. Witnesses said Bagger's demise was Danklau's show every step of the way, that he ordered Bagger be found and punished, and was hands-on until the end. Defense lawyers warned jurors that the witnesses were bad guys, self-serving turncoats, especially Pribernow, a lawyer railed, who was the guy who actually swung the final blow on Bagger with a baseball bat. But their cumulative testimony was devastating. Pribernow was the star witness. He was the first to turn and was on the stand for 3 days. Another witness had been a prospect member of the Gypsy Joker at the time, and another was a member of a support club. Both were promoted to full-patch Gypsy Joker member after helping in the plot. Danklau took the stand as well, testifying in his defense. He contradicted witness testimony, saying he wasn't there when Bagger was snatched or killed, and that he didn't order it or participate. He lashed out at his former brothers who testified against him, calling them liars. Lawyers for the Wiz said the Gypsy Joker MC isn't a criminal organization, just a club full of rogues with strong personalities who may not all follow society's rules. When these kind of guys get together, they said, there's bound to be fisticuffs, but it's personal, not club business. Erickson's defense was a tougher sell. His lawyer said Erickson was there at the time of Bagger's demise, but not as part of a plan. He didn't participate, but neither did he intervene. He was, his lawyer said, paralyzed by loyalty or by fear. That seems to encapsulate at least one aspect of life in a 1% biker club, at least the Portland Jokers: loyalty and fear. Bagger was loyal once, until he felt only fear. Danklau was betrayed by all sides. Not only brother bikers pointed a finger at him, but also working with prosecutors was his now former girlfriend, the victim of the incident that started it all. The jury heard evidence of more than just Bagger's fate. The racketeering charge meant prosecutors sought to prove a pattern of criminal behavior with a hierarchy of an organization behind it. In the police raids, officers uncovered a trove of Gypsy Joker's internal documents. They gave us an inside view of how the club was run. It turns out that for a bunch of outlaws, the bikers sure had a lot of rules. Rule number 1 is members must own a Harley-Davidson type motorcycle, with a minimum 100-mile fuel capacity. Rule number 2, no cops allowed. Rule number 3, no needle drug use. Rule number 4, never lie to another member. Members are required to attend weekly members-only meetings, on Friday nights called church. Dues is $10 a week unless you're in hospital or jail. They have rules on running elections. They have rules on what you can't wear. They have rules on when and how you can be kicked out of the club, how you can retire or transfer chapters, and even how members can change the club's bylaws. It takes a 2/3 majority vote. At the top of the Gypsy Joker heap, prosecutors said, was the whiz, Kenneth Hawes. The jury heard Hawes could be devastatingly strict. He once knocked the teeth out of a biker who was late to a mandatory motorcycle run. When a longtime member was kicked out, a thick black X was forcibly tattooed across the Gypsy Joker tat the guy had the misfortune to have inked across his entire back. Ouch. Breaking a rule meant having your eyes dotted, they called it. That meant standing up straight and taking a punch from another member to give you a black eye. After 4 days of deliberating, the jury accepted that Bagger Bob was killed by his former brother bikers. Denclau and Erickson were found guilty on November 30th, 2021. Hawes, however, was acquitted. The whiz walked free. That was a stunning surprise. His acquittal was a blow to prosecutors, who nevertheless hailed the case as a success. After all told, including the snitches, a whole whack of Gypsy Jokers were convicted. Their sentencing is scheduled for April, not just for those found guilty at trial, but also for the witnesses. They delayed their sentencing to see how they do in court. We know what Denclau and Erickson will get. Their convictions carry a mandatory life sentence, but the cooperating defendants who took the plea deals will find out what sort of discount their testimony bought them. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.